I wonder what Black Lives Matter has to say about the Cuban protests against communism in Cuba. Oh, right. Yep, I saw that coming from a mile away. I wondered where Black Lives Matter would come into this, because they usually do. Whenever some contentious topic comes out, they've got to, stick their stinky head into it. And this is no different. BLM comes out in support of Cuban communist regime, condemns the U.S. The BLM issued a statement condemning the U.S. federal government, not Cuba's communist regime, over its inhumane treatment of the Cuban people as demonstrations at the island continue. Jesus. So, they issued a statement, and here's what it said. From Andy No. Black Lives Matter account has posted a statement reaffirming its support of Cuba's communist regime, just as mass anti-government protests are breaking out in the island. BLM has also again expressed gratitude for Cuba giving asylum to convicted murderer Assata Shakur. Here's their statement. Black Lives Matter condemns the U.S. federal government's inhumane treatment of Cubans and urges it to immediately lift the economic embargo. Wait. So all those people that are dying right now in Cuba to, communist cops killing protesters and disappearing people, BLM is going to say, we're giving inhumane treatment to Cubans? Wow, okay. This cruel and inhuman policy, instituted with the explicit intention of destabilizing the country and undermining Cubans' right to choose their own government. They can't choose their own government, you goddamn mental fucking midget. Is at the heart of Cuba's current crisis. Since 1962, the United States has forced the pain and suffering on the people of Cuba by cutting off food, medicine, supplies, costing the tiny island nation of estimated $130 billion. Again, Cuba could ask Russia, they could ask Venezuela, they could ask any other countries in the European Union for help. Why haven't they? They can do it. They can defy the United States, but they don't really they're not giving that help. Ask yourself a question. Why aren't they doing it? They're scared of the United States? Hardly. Without that money, it is harder for Cuba to acquire medical equipment needed to develop its own COVID-19 vaccines and equipment for food production. How about asking for it? This comes in spite of the country's strong medical care and history of lending doctors and nurses to disasters around the world. The people of Cuba are being punished by the U.S. government because the country has maintained its commitment to sovereignty and self-determination. Jesus Christ. You cannot be self-determinate in a communist nation. There is no self, it's we determination. There is no self. You don't have I can't make this up. BLM is so fucking daft. United States leaders have tried to crush this revolution for decades. Okay. Instead of international amity, respect, and goodwill, the U.S. government has only instigated suffering for the country's 11 million people, of which 4 million are black and brown. Right. But the same black and brown people that you want to help are being killed by the same people you support. The communists. Aha. Therein lies the rub. Black Lives Matter not only is a Marxist organization, but sooner or later than not, hopefully they never get this way, they want to be communist. They want our country, the United States, to be a communist nation. Cuba has historically demonstrated solidarity with oppressed peoples of African descent, from protecting black revolutionaries like Assata Shakur, cop killer, through granting her asylum, to supporting black liberation struggles in Angola, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, and South Africa. Now we look to President Biden to end the embargo, something Barack Obama called for in 2016. This embargo is a blatant human rights violation and must come to an end. But not the communists killing people. That's not a human rights violation. No. Of course not. The tone deafness for Black Lives Matter is palpable. They support a brutal communist regime that kills and disappears its own people, stifles dissent, removes freedom. Oh, but they got a good medical system. So fucking what? BLM owners urged Biden to lift the economic sanctions against a tiny nation of 11 million residents, claiming that these trade concerns were causing unrest. No. If they were causing unrest, it would immediately happen when Orange Man got rid of reinstituted the embargo, or made it fortifier. It's maddening that we all know this is what Black Lives Matter is. This is who they are. They are not for freedom. They are not for your rights, if you actually believe that. They are for reducing your liberties, reducing your rights, and if given them enough time, Black Lives Matter would become even more Marxist, if they could, going down the road towards communism. You see, Marx hated socialism because he thought it was just a roadblock between Marxism and communism. So like most people think or hope that socialism is just a stepping stone to communism, Marx really believed that that wasn't the case. That was just a roadblock, another step. They should just go straight to communism. Just like Black Lives Matter will. They want to go right to communism. Yeah, BLM has been pro-communism and pro-Cuban government. Patrisse Cullors, one of the three founders and a very wealthy individual, expressed her joy that her book should be compared to Mao's Little Red Book. She also noted that she's a trained Marxist for a few years now, and especially since the death of George Floyd, it has been considered unseemly by social media and mainstream media companies to critique BLM in any meaningful way. BLM was founded in Marxist ideology. The founders of the movement made no secret about their goals of using the movement to replace the American way of life with the Marxist society, and yet the media and most politicians have chosen to ignore the origins of the movement, while some support it. Ari Hoffman wrote for the Post-Millennial just over a year ago. When BLM was gaining a national spotlight, BLM co-founder Patrisse Cullors admitted BLM is a Marxist organization. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers, she said. We are trained Marxists. We are super versed on, sort of, ideological theories, and I think that what we really tried to do is build a movement that can be utilized by many, many black folk. Black Lives Matter originates from a need to intervene in a 500-year story and a plan to kill and create havoc and chaos in black people's lives. Quoting from Cullors. No, that's not violent organization that she used to be part of. No. And so, even though she's not part of it anymore, BLM is not violent. They just support violence in other countries. But they wouldn't dare use violence against their own people here in the United States. Right? Anyways. BLM's third co-founder is Opal Tometi, who has met the Venezuelan communist dictator Nicolas Maduro and is on video praising him. I am aware that justice also has to do with racial aspects. Well, we are experiencing a manifestation of anti-black racism, and this is state violence. It must be called by its name. Police brutality, the murders of blacks, violence against Afro-descendant community, all is proof of violence of the state. Right. Shouldn't you be protesting against the communist violence against the 4 million black and brown people in Cuba right now? Oh, no. That violence is okay because it's rooted in our ideology. This other violence we don't like. Well, what's the difference? Well, we support communism, but we don't support the United States. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Hey, wait a minute. As Cubans fight for their freedom, despite the Potatoes administration's continued statements that lack of vaccine access is much of the reasons Cubans have taken to the streets, the tide may be turning on BLM. The reaction to BLM's statement was fierce. Even supporters of the movement, Arthur Carmen Pelez, who was also of Cuban heritage, said she was disappointed in BLM's advocacy for the regime. Disappointed, not disgusted. Let's be clear. So centering U.S. policy and not Cuban voices, many of which are black, is a huge mistake. They're siding with the oppressor, and it will not change my support for the movement because Black Lives Matter. But it is also incredibly disappointing knowing this is about the organization. You know it was. And then Jack Posobiec, BLM comes out in support of the Cuban government. Melissa Chan, imagine thinking the trade embargo is responsible for the plight of Cubans. Why? You mean a system without access to capitalist markets cannot allocate resources on its own? Every headline should read BLM in favor of state oppression and police brutalization of people, POC. And that is the title of this video I'm doing right now. Thank you, Melissa Chen. Senator Marsha Blackburn noted that BLM is a radical Marxist organization. Jim Garrigady, Black Lives Matter has finally found a group of cops that are unwilling to criticize. Yes, the ones that are killing protesters and disappearing people in Cuba. Reminder, BLM is a horrible communist organization and always was. At least Stefanik marks this organization that not only supports defunding the police, but also supports oppressive communist regime. Carly Ortiz Lytle. Medicine is included in the Cuban embargo. Also, let's talk about how Cuba treats Afro-Cubans. Exactamente. You see, this goes to show you that BLM, at its root, is a cancer. BLM is a cancer. Now, in the beginning, I could have got behind some of the one tenet of Black Lives Matter. You know, cops being unaccountable for the actions. Other than that, they all suck. BLM, that is. They're just terrible goddamn people who are in that organization. Are there probably some good ones? Maybe. But I haven't seen any. They all support communism. I don't support communism. They support killing me. I don't support that. This just goes to show you that in this country, you can say and do whatever you want. Within reason, obviously. But reason that Black Lives Matter doesn't get canceled for this, yeah, that's all you need to know. Who you can and can't criticize in this country. If you're not allowed to criticize BLM, who do you think is in charge? Usually, and as we see in Cuba, that when the people there criticize the government, they wind up dead or disappeared. This goes to show you that there are certain people in this world that you're allowed to criticize. And there's also some other people you cannot criticize. For the people you can't criticize, figure out and ask yourself this question. Who's really in charge?